All right, everyone. Welcome to the October 23rd meeting of Economic Development Committee. I'm calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes of September 25th. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes passed. Items for consideration. First is Downtown Evanston levy funding request. And we have Ms. Coakley.
Pardon me.
That's all right.
Well, I'll start with introductions. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Economic Development Committee. I'm Annie Coakley, the Director of Downtown Evanston. I am here tonight to present some of our year in review, some of the things that we've done this year. We didn't get to do our mid-year, so this is going to be kind of a whole year. And then our request for SSA levy and City of Evanston Economic Development contribution. If the presentation were up and running. It says EDC, no. No. That's not it. Just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So Downtown Evanston is, as you know, the service provider for Special Service Area Number 4, the taxing district that provides additional services to the downtown district, and it expires at the end of this year. We have been going through the reconstitution process with a planning consultant, Place Consulting, and a task force of stakeholders. So we have done all of the due diligence, and we are presenting on November 25th at our public hearing additional information to renew the district for another 15 years. I do go into a little bit of detail. Thank you, Paul. But in front of you is a brochure that we put together to sort of educate our stakeholders and how these dollars are spent, what an SSA is, and who we are essentially. So our board of directors is, class 2 is made up of the 10 top paying taxpayers of the district. SSA 4 is mostly our tenants, some property owners, and we also have some residents on our board as well. Our executive committee is 7 people. We actually have 2 vacancies right now, but I'm working to fill those. So our reconstitution process, we did a lot of above and beyond what is required at the state statute. So we hosted 2 public meetings. We had this brochure printed. We had a video made. Excuse me. We sent a postcard to every single taxpayer in the district informing them of the 2 public meetings. We had a petition, an iPetition, where we had 131 supporters sign up and say that they agree that the district should be reconstituted. Certainly not, it's an iPetition site, so it's not, we can't tell that it's the taxpayers in the district. But there are comments that say, we appreciate the work, et cetera. So the district is currently the purple, and we are expanding into these general areas because we simply already pretty much supply those areas with the extra services, so we're now going to make them pay for it, essentially. And I have a video that we put together explaining what we do and how we do it and how it gets paid for. I think it just plays if I click it. Is it a full screen, Paul? Yeah, go for it. No, that's the other video. I have 2 videos tonight. Okay, I can send you the link of the video. It's actually really nice. A local group made it for us, but I don't know why it's not playing. If you went like this, it should play. Is there something that says play? No. Sorry. That's a bummer. Didn't work, and I did it. There was a thing to, oh wait. Nope. Sorry.
Send us a link. and
I will.
Watch it, yeah.
It's 3 minutes too, by the way. So again, through the research or the outreach that we've done, the postcards, the online petition, the brochure, the video that we kind of put everywhere in our social media feeds. We emailed it to our stakeholders. We had it in our newsletter, and then we hosted 2 public meetings as well. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And now just a little bit of things we've done throughout the year. So one of our largest line items in our budget is marketing and events. We had a really interesting event this year called Hygge Fest. Hygge, spelled H-Y-G-G-E, it's not Higgy, it's pronounced Hygge, is a Scandinavian way of life for during the winter months because they are 6 months in the winter with darkness. So it's all these things about light and warm drinks and coziness and playing games and getting together. So we had this 1-week event with a bunch of workshops. They were all sold out. We got 3 media hits about it. We had a hotel stay. Actually, a mother and daughter saw it on our Instagram feed and drove here from Louisville to participate in the event. So next year, we're going to blow it up and do the entire month of February and have a lot more events. And we're doing a major push on advertising for it as well, because February is one of the toughest months for our businesses when everybody's spent their money and it's cold and no one wants to go outside. So more on that when we have a general plan for 2020. Also an event to support our health and wellness groups. We had a wellness crawl and all of these businesses participated. We had 40 people come. It was a good promotion for, again, those health and wellness businesses. Doing that. A list of our summer events. Thursday Night Live, of course, you're familiar with. It's been going on, I think, over 20 years. We have our Sip and Stroll, which is very much a free wine walk. We had a little block party on Orrington just for those businesses. They kind of put it together, re-promoted it for Northwestern Graduation Week. We have a series called Get Fit Fridays where we have free exercise provided by health and wellness providers downtown, classes in Fountain Square. Our sidewalk sale and Chalk Art Fest, and Where's Waldo? It's just an event that's citywide, actually. Why does it keep doing that? That's me that's doing that, not this. We also celebrated the Fountain Square dedication, and I think a lot of you were at that. So we put together a nice program, some different cultural entertainment things that happened, and that was really fun. I reached out to Vintage Garage. I love events that I can just invite here and they work on it. They had a garage that they had an event in Chicago, and their garage closed, so I called them and they came and saw the Maple Garage and they thought it was so beautiful. So they had 3 events this year, and each of them clocked in over 1,000 people. So hopefully those people then filtered into the downtown district and did additional eating and shopping. They're going to book 5 events next year. They also pay the city a lease agreement to use the garage, and they're hosting a winter event at the Women's Club, Vintage Christmas Bazaar.
That's a great idea.
We also hosted our first Pride event. It was also during a Thursday Night Live, so the picture on the left is the event. It was very popular. A lot of people came out. It was really fun. And it was in July, but we'll do it in June next year. Kind of came up, and we missed the mark on the June Pride Month, but June next year for sure. And then a sample of one of the artists that participated in the chalk art contest. That's actually not even a finished piece, but that's a picture that I had. Thursday Night Live and Get Fit Friday, just some pictures. We also hosted our 5th annual Oktoberfest. Our attendance numbers were a little down this year, but we also had some questionable weather. But we still had 730 people come. It was a really great event, and we really pushed it to be a little more authentically German. So we had a lot of German music. We had German kind of contests like a Steinhold, and we had tricycle races, a lot of German food. And every one of our breweries had some kind of German beer that they were pouring. And you have a cup in front of you that was the kind of the cup that everyone had to sample from. One of the things that we really work on for our businesses is, not just attraction. We try to attract businesses, what I call smiling and dialing, and I cold call businesses that I think would do well here. But the retention efforts are also huge. So Northwestern, we have a great relationship with a professor there in Medill, who every semester picks 8 of our businesses, or I choose them, and then they come up, the students and their grad students, with a really great marketing plan. They audit their marketing. They give them a plan. It's completely free. And they usually get like a really nice video out of it. So it's been a great relationship, and I think we're in our 3rd year doing that. We've had a couple of workshops, customer service, Google, today. It was a cybersecurity class this morning. And I'm really excited. I found out about this group in Chicago called 37 Oaks, and they pretty much do this retail consulting and workshops and boot camps that I have hired for a holiday planning class, but I'm hoping to do an entire boot camp next year with that group. So this is a sample of some of the things they do in other districts. Placemaking, we had a great partnership with One River School to decorate 14 or paint 14 of the city's utility boxes all over downtown. Our donation station parking meters need a refresh, and One River is also going to handle that for us, hopefully next week, before it starts snowing. And then we had a piano out Fountain Square that was painted by a local artist, and we did get a grant from our council for that. Partial. We paid the other more than half of it. And this is just sort of a sample of how fun this project was. So One River, we picked all the city utilities, and then their art teachers made the sketch, and then the students filled in the coloring. So it was really a fun event. We were lucky enough to, or I was lucky enough to get us on another version or episode of Around Town with Annabella Bell. So I think Paul's going to play one clip from that. But we were able to highlight 4 stores. Here? The Google Drive? Oh. Okay, yeah. Glasses, I need glasses. That's the story here.
Hey, Anna. We're shopping local in Evanston, and we started Isla's Originals for 23 years in the art of beading. Good morning, Isla.
Good morning, Anna.
Oh, I love how you split it here. These are kind of your vintage artifacts, and then we move down. Tell me.
Yeah, so collectible beads from all over the world, hundreds of years old, and then we have more contemporary glass from Czechoslovakia. We have natural things from woods and beads from Africa.
And then down here?
And down here we have different kinds of gemstones and metal beads and freshwater pearls.
We have a table going through one of your classes that are available for anybody.
Anytime, just give us a call. All of our classes are privately scheduled.
But you know what I love? That you repair your
There's Laura
necklaces
Brown.
that have broken, because all our aunts went through a beating phase, and then they break.
Yeah.
And
You
some
can
downtown
repair-
residents.
Fix them here, and we can teach you how to do it if you want. If you don't want to do it, we'll just create something custom for you.
Ooh, I love it. When we come back around town, we are taking a walk down Evanston and showing you some of their great local businesses. We'll be right back with more after this break.
So there were 4 stores, and they each got 2 hits, and it equaled around 16 minutes of live air, which is great. Oh, that would be helpful. We could just watch the news now. Okay. So great promotion. They say their viewership is around 260,000 people every morning. So, yeah. We have in the past hired influencers. You've probably heard me talk about that in this committee before. So we did again this year, and we paid for and hosted 5 international LGBTQ influencers from Belgium and London and Mexico, and I can't remember the other places they came from, but they were here for Pride. And combined, these folks have followers of over 246,000 people. So they were here for one night. And we got a lot of really good promotion out of that, especially internationally, which is great. Then we hired some shoppers, and we've only really done dining. So we hired these 3 women. They're local, and they spent a day downtown shopping. And we got 44 posts at 18,000 and some change for social media engagements and 2 million impressions. So we felt like that was a really good ROI. I was able to get found on WCIU, the Jam, for a morning thing for Mother's Day brunch. They promoted their Mother's Day brunch, and I was able to get Chef Station on WGN to do a pitch for Chef Station. And I hired this influencer, and she came in for Mother's Day weekend with her mom, and she went to the House Walk brunch. She had a beading class, and she stayed at the Hyatt, and everybody donated those things so that we could hit her audience of around 25,000 Instagrammers. And she has a blog, and she did a bunch of stories. So some of the examples of things that she had on her social media are right here. And then our website, so we continue to have, this was February for Hygge, and then it kind of peaks again for the summer events and things like that. But we do overall very well. Like we had this is from January 1 until today, 146 individual users hitting our, or looking at our page, and these are the things they're coming to. So this means downtownevanston.org, the homepage, and then these are the categories in order of where they're spending their time. These are the channels of which we advertise, so some local, some Chicago media markets. We have a marketing committee that helps us decide how we're going to spend those dollars every year. But radio has definitely been a really great return for us. And it's also a little bit of a moneymaker for downtown Evanston because we can't buy an ad for every single business downtown. We co-op it, so we sell them for like $15 for an ad for 30 seconds on XRT, which is a really great rate. But then it kind of gets us out of the weeds of saying we can't buy everyone an ad, so you have to pay a little bit to get into the little skin in the game, but very affordable. Here's some examples of the creative of the print advertising that we've done. This was all, I think, on Evanston Now. Some print ads that we had, and then this here on the bottom is a CTA rail card ad, which was in over 200 rail cars this summer for 8 weeks. And then Open House Chicago, as you know, was here, and we buy an ad in that special insert, the Tribune. We're the only community organization that bought an ad. And it was available in 250 sites, and they distribute 500,000 copies. So it's a huge return to get an ad in that. We also invested in a different brochure distribution model. We used to hire this same organization, but they would put our brochures in like Red Roof hotels, and I'm like, that's not really the audience I think that is coming from like Racine to Evanston. It's just not going to happen. So this is a brand new thing. It's a mobile tourism center, and it goes all over Chicago, and if it's not at like a major Chicago event, it's kind of just at Millennium Park. So we were able to get 1,500 of our brochures distributed through that this summer, which I thought was great. And then, of course, one of our biggest, if not our biggest line item is maintenance and public waste. So that's our 5 days a week garbage removal. And the planters, we added 19 planters this year, all in Fountain Square. And then 2 days a week, we have our contractor clean the tables out there. We also were able to have business meetings and kind of keep everybody calm during the sidewalk improvement for Sherman this year, and worked with the city and had validation for parking. So it really worked out. It was very smooth. So we had a great company to work with. And then, of course, our annual power washing. This is always the slide everybody wants to see. So it's pretty neck and neck. So we had some closings and we've had some openings. We have a lot of coffee in town right now, which is good, and breakfast. McKitchen, if you haven't been, is really good breakfast, and so is Frida's. But it's a lot of what Paul and I always say are in the F categories: food, finance, fitness, phonetically phones. And in front of you is a sign. This is a new campaign, and I just sort of unveiled it to get the blessing of the other merchant districts last week at a merchant district meeting. So this is kind of a play on, this is one of the ads that, or you have them in front of you, but we're going to have these in all of the retailers that in Evanston that want them in their windows. So Central Street, Main Dumpster, all of the business districts have agreed that we're going to kind of have a singular campaign this year to do, it takes a village. So that's the cute little message, but this is really the tag, Keep Evanston Awesome. So Keep Austin Weird was a huge, it's still huge. And it started to support retailers, really, and there's a whole article about it. So we've come up with Keep Evanston Awesome. The other business districts seem to like it. We're going to have bumper stickers and T-shirts and pins, and we're really going to unveil it on Small Business Saturday, which is a huge day for shopping to support our local businesses. The fall crawl and going into holiday events for the rest of the year is tomorrow night. You're welcome to come. It's a free event with kind of in-store demonstrations and free drinks and things like that. Our trick-or-treat event is this Saturday. Of course, Small Business Saturday, our big event of the year, is November 30th. The tree lighting is December 7th. The mayor will once again be riding in on his bike with some other brave winter bikers with their bikes lit up. And our very popular event, the Warm Bevy Walk, is on the following Thursday, and we usually clock in about 500 people for that event. Now, what you've all been waiting for are the numbers. So our request for you for the 2020 budget is the SSA number 4 levy will come in at $592,666, and that is applying our new rate, which is 0.1770% against the equalized assessed value of downtown. So that's the levy that will come in. And then our contribution from the city's economic development funding at $50,000, that money totally goes all to our maintenance line item because we do 5 days a week of garbage removal, which is not cheap. So our total contribution or ask is $642,666, and then our operating and our expenses are on the other side. So those are just the main buckets, but those are the dollar amounts that are associated with those. That's all I have.
Committee discussion? Alderman Wilson?
That's a lot of stuff. So, I've seen the ads on the train. I've heard the ads on XRT. They pop up on my computer at work. So,
It's working.
if I'm a target market, it's certainly hitting me. So, but yeah, it seems like it's working, and just the events, people are, coming to these things. I see people in coffee shops. I see people in restaurants that I have conversations with who aren't from Evanston. So,
our Thursday Night Live group is definitely not 100% Evanston. We do get a lot of people from other neighborhoods and communities that come for it,
right,
which is
right.
great.
So that's great. So thank you for all of that.
Mm-hmm. And the Fountain Square, it was just delightful to see.
Yeah.
Everyone playing in it, and it really has been better than we.
Oh, definitely. It's a game changer for sure. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how many people we see down there and it's interesting. I probably shouldn't say this on record, but I don't care. How many people come and not complain about parking to go spend time there, and then when they have to buy something, they complain about parking. I'm just saying, it's all the same. It's parking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Who do I have down here? Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing. Great report, and just really appreciate your creativity and innovation around especially around the events. I think you really keep it fresh every year, and we appreciate that. I did have a question though about the reconstitution public meetings. What were the key takeaways or comments from that? Do you happen to remember? Or
That residents would not contribute. So we had hoped that we could have residents contribute to the SSA, but that was the key takeaway. And frankly, I mean, the SSA has been around since 1987, so anyone in the downtown district has been benefiting from those events, whether they've paid in or not. And it would be really difficult for us to now say, now you should contribute to the benefits that you've been receiving that you haven't paid for. So I knew it would be an uphill battle, but it was definitely, the takeaway was not to further move further with including residents. Which simply means, I mean, some of the residential benefits that we were going to provide, we won't be providing, so snow removal mainly.
oh, I see. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Can I have a motion?
I move that we recommend to the City Council that we approve the Downtown Evanston 2020 budget as attached to the packet, including the approval of the special service area. Number 4, 2020 tax levy request of $592,666 and approval of $50,000 from Economic Development Division for additional maintenance contract reimbursements.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Chairman Nguyen, members of the Economic Development Committee, thank you so much. I'm Catherine Gotzik, the Executive Director of the Main Dempster Mile, and I will be doing a presentation as well. Where are you at? What did I just do? Come on, baby.
Go up to the top view.
Thank you. How is that? Thank you. Okay. I did it. I made it work. Okay, so our board of directors is losing 2 of our original members, Eric Young of La Principale, Alice George of Sketchbook Brewing, who've been there since the very beginning, will roll off. The new president and vice president are Yun Park of Soapies and Hunter Owen of Reprise Roasters. They are new officers. Rogie Sussman of Vogue remains the treasurer. She was also the treasurer last year. And we added 3 new businesses. Bill Coyne of Kratos Strength Systems, which is a strongman gym. Claire Kettlecamp of Kettlecamp and Kettlecamp Landscape Architects. And Ben Shapiro of Everyday Cycles. Our 29 year-end forecast is as noted. I have it in very big buckets. If you have any questions at all, I'd be more than happy to. I think actually you have for next year, you have our line item by line item budget. But if you'd like to see this year's line item by line item, I'm more than happy to share that with you as well. We invested quite a bit in placemaking. Obviously, admin is always the largest line item of the year. You should know that there are $39,597 worth of reserves, which is roughly 6 months in those admin. So the program costs on admin are around $91,000. So I'll tell you about what we were doing this year. This year we added a charity partner. I'm sure Annie knows when you're a small office, it's tough to do everything yourself. So we added a charity partner, and they help with the check-in for our events and some like bag stuffing and other things that are just rough to do and our burnout type activities. They get a portion of proceeds from our event. They got the rights to our wine walk raffle, and they get a lot of a fair amount of exposure to our neighbors. The charity partner that we chose is a Maine Dempster Mile charity partner. It's Rainbows for All Children, who is dedicated to providing support for youth as they navigate grief from life-altering events like death, divorce, deployment, deportation, incarceration, or other life-altering trauma. They were a wonderful partner. We're very happy with them. I'll be sad to see them go, but we will get a new partner next year, and we hope to spread that around. It worked out very well for us. We had quite a bit of merchant and community engagement this year. This is the MDM Village at Custer Fairs featuring the School of Rock stage. We offered a little mini festival, a little mini Custer Fair that was 100% local. The Sketchbook Beer Truck was there. We had a French market full of local vendors, and School of Rock provided all of the entertainment. We also had kids' activities programmed throughout the day, and we had a lot of neighbors come in, and we got good feedback on that. We had an Earth Day neighborhood cleanup, which doubled in size from last year. Last year we had about 60 people come out. This year we had about 120. We also resumed our neighborhood block parties and concerts. We did 3 on Main Street, and we added a very large event on Dempster and Sherman. We shut down from Mexican Shop North up to Greenwood, and it was bigger than all 3 of the Main Street ones combined. It was a great event, really fun, and a nice way to end the summer. It also has turned out to be a very nice little merchant marketplace, because we allow the merchants to sell. La Principal sells margaritas, and Wine Goddess, actually you can see Tony there, he sells wine. There's Firehouse sells pizza, so it's a nice way to for them to make a little extra as well. We added this year a Pride event, Color the Mile with Pride, and you can see just a little bit of what we did. We pulled it together pretty quickly, but we were very happy with how it turned out. All the businesses dressed their stores up, did activities. We tied ribbons in the trees, rainbow ribbons in the trees, and just tried to convey the message that we were an LGBTQ plus friendly neighborhood. We also convened the merchants and property owners on crime. Sadly, we experienced a spate of crime this summer that was no fun. But with the help of Alderman Nguyen, we had a meeting with Chief Cook, with the help of several of the business owners who shared video security footage. We actually caught one of those people, and that crime went away. We have other things there. You can see it. The Main Street Improvement Project is very exciting. We will have that Public Works project will happen in 2021, but we are so grateful to have a seat on the advisory committee as the planning is happening. That's huge for us. Thank you very much. We also connected the merchants one to another. My favorite connection of the year, the Strongman Gym I mentioned before, Kratos Strength Systems, asked me if I could find them a car that someone could bench press. So Autobarn provided one. And then we also do matching funds for the merchants for landscaping and sidewalk planters. We added a matching grant for security cameras during the crime wave, and then we will do it for holiday window decorations. Next year we'll add street music as well. We'll provide less, but we will share the cost with them if they do it. We are bringing the business district to life for children with fairy doors. So many of you know Lena from Nice Lena and Friends. All she talks about is making the city exciting, or the district exciting, from the knees down. That's how she says it, from the knees down. So 33 businesses so far have ordered fairy doors from her, and you can see a couple of them. We're launching them on Spooky Saturday, which is coming up this week. And then we're going to have a kids shopping event over the holidays this year where they'll get stickers if they find all the fairy doors. In placemaking as well, in a strong partnership with Cultivate and the City of Evanston Parks Department, we are so pleased at this project, and we could not have done it without the parks. I'd just like to give lots and lots of positive feedback about Stephen Walker's team. It was so great to work with them, and we're so happy with Jennifer Morris Park, which is the only one that's actually in our taxing district. As you can see there, the before and after pictures tell the story. We also added a community herb garden. Cultivate completely maintains it. We rededicated it. We had about 30 partners come out. We did quite a bit of research on who Jennifer Morris was and what a remarkable woman. I encourage you to ask me about her or find out about her yourself. We were so pleased to be able to introduce her to a whole new generation of Evanstonians. There's new public art. The mural on the left is very visible. You've probably seen it if you drive up and down Chicago Avenue. That was a Main Dumpster Mile commission. There's also the Chicago Bears street art, which you can see there, which was not a Main Dumpster Mile commission, but sits on the Main Dumpster Mile. And we have a project that we're actually really excited about. The mural at 600 Washington is in terrible shape, and it won't be repaired. Like, it just, the wall wants to eat it. So we reached out to the muralist. His name is Jordan Nickel. He is an Evanstonian, and we asked for a creative solution, and they said, well, we'll give you a new mural every year for free, as long, or at cost, I should say. We have to prime the wall, but they'll donate the artist. But they wanted some creative freedom. They didn't want it to be a commission. They wanted it to be stuff that they wanted to do. So this right here is the first thing that's, and we have a start date of 10/28. It's coming up any minute. And it's creating more controversy than I would have thought. What it says there, it's a text mural that says, if you think you can do a thing, you're right. And it's not a typo. It is a Y-O-U-R. And people are very, very vehemently on one side of that or another. So we're trying to actually figure out how to make that a conversation and really lean into that. But it's intentional, and it has two meanings. And you should see it going up soon. Mm-hmm. And if you hate it, it'll be gone next year. So. So economic development, both of these are new events. We added a craft crawl, which is much like the wine walk, but it features tastings of craft beverages made on the mile. So Fuse Spirits, Ketchupik Beer, and Kombucha Brava Kombucha. We also did an event that was a lot like Annie's Hygge Fest with Yelp North Shore. It was in-store events throughout the cold weather months, and I've got some pictures here. Homestead Meat actually did a demonstration of butchering an entire hog. It was amazing. Manassian Rugs is in the center, and then it's a knitting workshop at Evanston Stitch Works there on the right. Our wine walk was down just a couple of people, but we did raise almost $1,500 for Rainbows for All Children. On the side there, you can see the guest feedback is that something like 70% of people purchased something while they were on the wine walk. And on the bottom, the merchant feedback you can see says that their foot traffic was quite good. So it is accomplishing all the things that we wanted it to accomplish. This year we added to the Wine Walk a food event called Taste of the Mile, and it was quite successful. We also used catering help with the students from the YW Culinary Program, and that was also wonderful. We were very pleased to support that program, and we loved having their help. Here are just some Wine Walk highlights. It's always an incredibly fun event. We also continued these great events. Spooky Saturday on the Main Dumpster Mile is coming up on Saturday. We did our first CTA Purple Line campaign last year. We are continuing it this year, and you can see an example of the two-sheet that will be hanging in both the Main and Dumpster Street stations. And then those green, yellow, and blue bars will also have interior cards on the Purple Line. We continue to grow in our digital communications, everything except our merchant list, which I'm happy that it's getting smaller because that means it's getting more accurate. I'm actually okay with all of that. We could grow on Twitter a little more. Significantly, this year, we added an option for a special membership categories for businesses that are outside of our taxing district but inside of our community borders, which we define as Greenwood to south and Ridge to the lake. So if a business is outside the taxing district, they can apply for membership and be approved and take advantage of our services and participate in our events. And we actually were very happy to have a slow governance year. We did not have a lot going on other than that. So our 2020 proposed budget mix is actually going to invest a little bit more in marketing and a little bit less in placemaking. I think I've actually got those labeled wrong on the pie chart, but they are correct on the left-hand column. And we will continue to keep our reserves in line, and we'll make about $5,000. Again, I think you have a copy of the actual ask in your packets. And thank you for everything, as always, all of
Thank
your
you.
support.
Another very successful year.
Thank you.
Committee discussion?
I had a question.
Yes, go
On the main dumpster mile, the levy looks to be 0.231%, and in downtown Evanston, it's 0.177%. How is that calculated? What's the difference there?
Good question.
Downtown Evanston equalized assessed value. The equalized assessed value is significantly different. So our rate is always lower because the value is higher, and then their rate has to be a little bit higher because their value, exactly, to generate the levy.
Sorry.
The marketing cost, the placemaking cost, and then the admin cost, and you mentioned the what is the admin cost?
The largest part of it, it's about $92,000. The largest part of it is going to be the my salary, the stipend for my benefits, and then there is our rent. I do have an office and a co-working space. There is our insurance, equipment, phone, website maintenance, overhead. And then we do have some things in there that we hope we don't spend, like attorney's fees or there is professional development in there. We do hope we spend that, but professional development is in there. And then our reserves is $39,000. SSAs? That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to it. We did do some benchmarking on the benefit side actually this year, what several other SSAs were offering, just to see how we stacked up on that side, but we didn't do the same exercise in terms of the mix. So I probably have that information somewhere, but I don't have it at the top of my head. Yeah, I think so too.
Alderman Rainey?
I was wondering if you have a policy about reserves. Have a policy.
I'm hesitating because I'm trying to remember if it's actually in our bylaws or not, and I'm not sure if it is or not, but that is our board's policy to keep it on there. It's whether it's written or unwritten. That is currently at the.
I'm wondering. My question really is: do you have a policy regarding the percentage required?
6 months operating costs.
It is a requirement.
That's how we calculate it right now.
And so your reserve is what?
$39,000.
Is that 6 months operating?
It's 6 months of overhead. It's not program costs.
Okay. Is there any way we can look at your numbers? Am I missing something? Is it in here and I'm not seeing it?
It's not in the slide presentation. It would be in the.
If I can jump in, Madam Chair. Alderman Rainey, we don't have the numbers in front of us right now, but before council, can I get them to the
And that'd be
committee?
really good. I'd
Yeah,
like to see those.
we'll spell that out. Because
Yeah,
we
I'd
have,
like to see I'd like to see the budget.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow up with that.
I can email it today.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
And
if you-
you're
if you-
asking us, we're being asked to approve some numbers here.
Right, and the city council will have the
Right.
ultimate approval
Okay,
in
so-
2 weeks.
All right.
Right.
No rush.
All right, no further discussion. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we recommend approval by the city council to accept the budget for the main dumpster mile special service areas, SSA number 6, and recommend the council adopt a levy to raise funds in the amount of $222,434.50, 57 cents, on a rate of 0.231%.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, all right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
next.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't introduce myself yet for viewers. I'm Paul Zalmazak. I serve as the City of Evanston's Economic Development Manager. Tonight, I'll invite Chief Scott to the microphone briefly to discuss a proposal that he's worked on for quite some time. I think we started discussing this about 12 months ago, maybe a little longer. Because the Economic Development Fund has a line item for workforce development, we thought this would be the committee to come to for this apprenticeship program, and we can open that up for discussion after Chief Scott describes the program. But before we go there really quickly, just to revisit our two previous items, both Ms. Gotzik and Ms. Coakley work really hard. They have a very small staff, and they do a ton for kind of, not a lot of money. I mean, it's pretty good salary, but they work really hard for their money. And I think it is making a difference, and I'll give one anecdote. Last week, if you recall, the Wine Goddess and the struggles we had when we had our tax, let me tell you, that place was packed. And the reason why is that they've reinvented. They realize that they have to work really hard to bring in events. And I don't know how retailers do it. I don't know how any small business does it, but they have to work really hard to get people in the door, and they're doing it, and partly because of their help. So I just wanted to point that out. So back to the item at hand, if Chief Scott could come forward. We're requesting from the Economic Development Fund Workforce Development kind of sub-account $20,000 for a partnership with Oakton Community College to deliver a firefighter apprenticeship program. This would be this would be the first of 3. This would be one of these programs where we come back every year with a report, and then the committee would on an annual basis review the report and then consider funding for the next year. And we've done that on a number of occasions. But Chief Scott, do you want to? Thank you. I don't know if you need this.
Thank you, Paul. Madam Chair, members of the committee, good evening. Fire Chief Brian Scott.
Welcome.
A little background on the apprenticeship program. So back in 2017, I had put together a diversity task force as part of our recruitment program for our firefighter eligibility test at that point. And one of the things I've learned through that process and me reaching out to fire chiefs and leaders in the fire service nationally, as well as talking with community stakeholders, is we need to do a better job with respect to diversity in the fire service. And the Evanston Fire Department does not reflect the demographics of the community. And I think if we do that, we're going to be better able to serve the community. And one of the things that came up that was innovative in my mind was an apprenticeship program, something I saw in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for example. Kansas City was another. But one barrier for us in the state of Illinois was the Illinois Firefighter Hiring Act, which only allowed for a firefighter to be hired off of a civil service eligibility exam. And to kind of basically go through how that process works, someone who wants to be a firefighter paramedic in the city of Evanston, they take a a multiple choice written exam. They go through a panel interview for about 20 minutes, and they go through a Civil Service Commission interview along with a background check and some other things before they're placed on a list in ordinal rank. Those that score the highest get picked and selected first. I found that we weren't getting the type of people we wanted on the department through that very rigid process, and it didn't allow for any local control. The apprenticeship program that I thought we could develop would build upon our already very successful 2 community-based programs, the Evanston Township High School Public Safety Program, which is for our juniors and seniors at Evanston Township, along with our very successful Evanston Fire Department Explorer Program, which allows youth in the community ages 14 to 21 to learn and prepare to be a firefighter paramedic. So my first task was to change the law. So I worked in collaboration with the Illinois Association of Fire Chiefs, the Associated Firefighters of Illinois, had great support from State Representative Robin Gable and State Senator Laura Fine, and we were able to change that law. Now, there were some compromises. My first hope with the law change was going to be a direct pipeline from the apprenticeship program to the department. As a matter of compromise, I couldn't quite get that done, but we had something significant change. We were allowed to put 20 points of preference to a certified apprenticeship program. And those 20 points is a game changer for any candidate for the department. During that time, I was also working with Oakton Community College, some great folks over there, and we're looking to develop a 3-year program. So during the 3-year program, because of the funding from the Workforce Development Fund, that person would be a civilian employee of the City of Evanston. They would serve in a support role with the Evanston Fire Department, while they would also be going to school at Oakton Community College. So at the end of the 3-year program, they would have about 3,000 hours of work experience, plus an associate's degree in fire science, plus they would be EMT certified, plus they would go through the fire academy and have that certification as well. All that, again, plus the preference, so that when they came up through the testing process for the City of Evanston Fire Department, they would have a significant advantage. So to me, if you remember that previous process, the way it's kind of standardized now, I think this apprenticeship program is a more valid process for hiring any firefighter and has the benefit of diversifying our department over time, because we're going to be pulling our applicants from the Evanston community. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes.
Can you clarify how many individuals you expect to be going through and graduating through the apprenticeship program?
Right now, just one. This is the funding just for one individual over 3 years.
So then over 3 years, it sounds like the expected funding is $63,000 for one individual?
That's correct.
Okay, Alderman Braithwaite?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say to Chief Scott, thank you. I remember when we sat, briefly after you were offered the position, and you said that you were going to be committed to this. And this type of program and attention to detail takes like an intention to change. It doesn't happen by accident. So I just want to thank you for the follow through. And Alderman Simmons, I think it was at this year, last year, made, I don't know if it was just a change or a recommendation. So we're now funding through our MWEBE committee for local residents, just that testing fee, which also could have been a barrier. So she did it on the back end, you're taking care of it on the front end, and I'm hoping in the next couple of years we're going to see the diversity that you're talking about in this program. So I'm definitely looking forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Wilson?
Alderman Braithwaite covered most of it, but I do really appreciate the the vision and starting with changing the law for one person, but every person counts, and every step counts. So that was a lot of effort and energy that you put into that. So I appreciate that thoughtfulness, and hopefully this is kind of a first step in an evolution in how this process works. So that's a great first step. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey?
I agree with everything everybody said about your efforts here and your vision and your program, but I don't think this money should be coming out of the Economic Development Fund. This is a great program, and the city of Evanston needs to embrace it through our Human Resources Department. I just don't understand why it's coming out of this little fund and the economic development. I mean, I think it must have been a very hard search in order for you to land here. It should either be coming out of the general fund, human resources. It should be coming out of maybe a piece of it, a small piece of it, out of community development block grant money. But I can't justify it coming out of the economic development fund. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it's almost like if you can't find money for something, somehow or another it gets sent here. And I don't see it belonging out of this fund. I think it's a brilliant idea, but I don't know where is Human Resources clamoring to embrace this program. I mean, have you been there? Have you talked to the finance department? And why is it here? I don't understand it.
Well, perhaps Paul could speak to the history of the Workforce Development Fund.
$60,000? I mean, that's a lot of money for one person.
Well, remember, it's over a 3-year period, and it also includes the tuition and training support as well.
Yeah. Or maybe it should be spread around to a variety of different funding sources. I'm not sure. And I'm not, I mean, are we supposed to endorse this tonight and send it to the council for a vote on our next meeting?
Yes, I believe that's the plan.
I'm not going to vote for this. I love the program. I mean, if we could bifurcate this issue and say how much I love Chief Scott's program, but I don't like the funding source. I give you 5 stars and the funding source minus.
Let's hear from Mr. Zalmatzet. Yes.
Madam Chair, thank you. Alderman Rainey, I don't know. The history is we have workforce development funds available, and I don't know if the chief or anybody talked with HR about it. If the committee would like for staff to seek out other sources, we can do that before it appears before the city council. I don't know if this will come to the November 11th meeting or the 25th, but we can spend a little more time figuring that out if that would ease your concerns. And but please direct us, and we'll follow your direction, Madam Chair.
It's just my humble opinion.
I have several other lights here. Alderman Rusimans.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I won't repeat everything, but just your commitment to this is outstanding. We have had our first 2 residents use that fund that we approved in MWEBE to have their fees reimbursed. So that's great news. I share the concerns with Alderman Rainey in the amount of funding for one, and I'm sorry that I have not read in detail the packet, but did we look at what percentage of that money is going towards education, and did we look at partnering with the institution? Is it Oakton and others in them participating in this workforce development initiative?
So we're a little bit early in the process, but we've had initial discussions about perhaps their foundation helping support this as well. So we may not, over time, use the full $63,000, but this would be the initial amount that I know would secure the program moving forward. So we've talked about reduced tuition rates, for example, or direct support through their foundation. So we're just really early in that process as we frame this program as we head into fall of 2020.
And then the laws being approved, could you give me a little more detail on that so we can restrict it to a local resident that is of a certain income profile, or how can we have some surety that it would be someone that would not otherwise have this opportunity?
I think we certainly could look at that, and the initial discussions I've had with Oakton and with Human Resources is my preference would be that it's a graduate of ETHS, someone that's been through the Fire Explorer program.
But do we know yet that we can limit it to someone?
I think we have the local control to do that. There will be some negotiations with Local 742 on the creation of a joint apprenticeship committee, so that before the preference points are awarded, there'd be a committee that would evaluate their progress through the program before the points would then be added to them upon their eligibility list.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alderman Wilson, then Alderman Braithwaite, then Alderman Rainey again.
Thank you. I appreciate the points. I appreciate the significance of the amount as far as the available funds, but I do feel like this is it's workforce development, and that's what we've made a decision to include in this committee. So, having that as part of our directive, it's not only to support the businesses per se, but it's also to support these creative opportunities to develop a stronger workforce in our community. So I feel like it does fit that bill. So I am going to support this, and hopefully the committee can move it to the council for consideration.
Okay, Alderman Braithwaite?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Wilson covered the points that I wanted to make.
Alderman Rainey?
Well, let me put it another way. I don't think we should use these monies to support a public employee. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. These monies are, in my opinion, should be set aside to aid private businesses. We're workforce development. We want to help private industry, retail, commercial, whatever it is, to benefit from these funds. I really don't want to use these monies to support a public employee. We have other funds for that. I never thought of these funds being used to support a firefighter trainee, which is what we're attempting to do here. So I just must have misunderstood, but I think we're making a mistake. This is not economic development.
Let's see, who's next? Jean Marie.
Is there a risk that losing this person that we have paid it for like 2 years, if they go something else, or like how would we
Well, that's a very good question. So one thing that we've already talked about with Oakton is having some type of contractual arrangement with the apprentice that if he were to drop out of the program or leave the program or leave the department subsequent after being hired for some reason, that there could be some kind of reimbursement to the fund.
From the participant?
Yes. So that's not uncommon in the fire service. For example, we invest a lot of money in a new trainee. So many departments across the country, many times if they leave after, say, 3 years of service, there's a prorated amount they'd have to reimburse the city for their equipment and training and everything goes into it. So we could create something similar to that with the apprenticeship program. But I think ideally, the way this thing will be structured, we should have a strong connection to that individual that's going to continue. It's one of the benefits of this is, as opposed to having a single test and a couple interviews, this in effect becomes a 3-year job interview where we get to learn about them and they about us. So at the end of that 3-year period, we should have a very good understanding mutually that it's a good fit for them and us.
Okay. All right, I think I've lost track. Yes, right, yes. Then Peter, I think, then Robin.
That's
okay,
fine.
Right.
Chief Scott, thank you. I absolutely support the model and the effort that goes into this and the idea behind it. I have concerns about whether there might be other partner opportunities so that Evanston's not shouldering the entire cost of this program. It sounds like there have been initial conversations with Oakton. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to further explore that. We now have, I believe, 3 trustees that are residents of Evanston. So, I think a conversation to better understand whether they could absorb some of these costs would be in order. I support the model. I personally am a little uncomfortable with this amount of money for one person. Maybe I need to understand the model that's been used in other programs, but that makes me a little uncomfortable.
I will just, I'm going to take a turn quickly to say, I view this very positively. We rarely have someone come to us who has faced a problem and then they went to Springfield and fixed the law. I can't remember the last time we had a city employee encounter that obstacle and then fix it. So I kudos for that. I tend to agree with Alderman Wilson and Alderman Braithwaite. I mean, workforce development is workforce development. This would be an Evanstonian who would be getting a career position with our fire department, which is something that we don't have enough of. We don't have enough of growing our own firefighters. And so to me, this is developing the workforce. So Alderman Rainey, I know you might have a different opinion about it, but we need this program to expand because working for the fire service is a career that we want to encourage more Evansonians to embark on. So I think getting answers to more of these questions, I think our 3 Oakton trustee members would be helpful. But I think that this is where this should start. And we can talk more about ways in which we provide it to more people or more applicants. Perhaps if we get some other financial support, then this amount of money could be split for several applicants, and lots of different ideas. Okay, so now I think I have Alderman Simmons and then Alderman Rainey.
So I want to be clear how excited I am about this program and this model, and I want to support this, and I will be supporting it tonight. But as stated by myself and others here, I just would ask that we do more to partner with Oakton to help absorb some of that cost. And for the $20K per year, how much of that is in education?
Let's see here. So I believe for the first year, it'll be about $5,000 in tuition support and $15,000 in compensation. So
Okay.
they're going to be making $15 an hour as an apprentice in their first year.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry. So I'm 100% in support of this, and I wanted to go along to council, but I'm hoping that we can work hard, and maybe we can even come up with suggestions or introductions so that we can subsidize it in a different way. I don't think it's that it's workforce, because we're here for that. So I keep hearing you say that this is workforce, this is what we do. It's the amount of money for one and how many residents we would like to have this opportunity. So that's what the challenge is. So if there's no further comment, I move approval on this.
Okay.
There's more comment?
Okay. Who had one more? Peter and
do you
then
want to-
Don.
So
Okay.
I think to 2 points. First of all, Alderman Rainey, I think this is a good investment. My definition of workforce, it really doesn't matter which bucket it comes from. It's how do we get a citizen to be a contributor to our tax base? And I think if you can take someone with a high school diploma, and now we're partnering with Oakton and invest, and this is equal to, just as a point of information, the Public Works Department is doing something similar where they're investing money. Again, it's just a matter of which bucket we're taking it from. That is I wouldn't call that a livable wage, but I will say the investment in resources will yield at the end of the 3 years someone who has a salary range of what? You tell me with overtime.
A starting firefighter makes approximately $56,000 a year.
And at the 2 to 3 years, 4 years into it with overtime, they're up to
$75,000.
$75,000 with an investment of 20. I think that's, honestly, I think that's money well spent. You know, the only, in respect to some of the comments, and I do understand maybe we just throw the word pilot in there somewhere.
Well, this is a pilot. Yes.
Exactly. And just then we understand that, and I know you're going to do it, we look around to other, whether it's business partners or other opportunities to fund it. So I will support it tonight. And again, I'm going to say thank you very much for your intention.
Thank you. And it's been my intention all along to look at other funding sources as this develops and grows. I think it's the only way it's going to keep it in terms of its long-term sustainability. And we, you know, obviously, I hope for more than one apprentice at a time. There'll be a point where we'll have several that'll be constantly going through the program.
Right. Alderman Wilson, let's let you be the last commenter.
You know, I guess the thing that I focus on, and I hope we can focus on, this investment isn't an investment in the fire department. Okay, it's an investment in a person in developing a career opportunity. And you've recognized that there is a barrier and an impediment. So that's what I appreciate. So instead of accepting the status quo, you've come up with a solution. Now it's a pilot solution, you know, but it's more along the lines of a first step in a model as opposed to the way we could, you know, do business in every instance. So it's how do we overcome this barrier? How do we get people into this, you know, career opportunity? And going from there, I would presume that we can bring that cost, as far as the cost per person to do this, down once it's demonstrated that this can work. So I appreciate that, and I do hope that we can move this to the council.
Move approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, so there's that. All right, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, our next item is, proposed legacy businesses.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an item for discussion. Staff is seeking the committee's input on a concept that we've tentatively badged the Legacy Business Retention Fund. The idea here is in so many cases we're using economic development money to attract businesses, or we get really excited in our social media about new businesses, and then we tend to forget about the people, the business owners, the entrepreneurs who have been here from the beginning to make it the really cool hipsterbia, as I mentioned in the staff report. So, this comes up a lot. We talk about fairness, and hey, we're a recent example. We supported a 6B on Central Street. And then there were several other businesses that said, hey, we've been here a long time. How do we get some tax relief as well? So, you know, and we've talked about that. I've been on staff for over 8 years, and I think this conversation comes up on a regular basis. We used to have the storefront modernization program, the facade program, that was cut in the budget last year. That used to be a way that we could help after a business had been around for a while and their awnings and things started to fade, we would help. So, staff is kind of putting it out there as an idea, and I've kind of outlined it with 7 points about ways that we could assist businesses that have been around for some period of time. I don't know what that number is. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is the amount that we might match, is it a $5,000 match for a $10,000 total project? Or is it something higher? We would restrict the funding to somewhere in the range of $25,000 to $50,000. It would be housed in the Great Merchant Grant Program. We currently have around $50,000 set up for technical assistance. We haven't used as much of that as I thought we would. So I'd just like to present that as an idea. And if the committee would like to consider it for discussion to direct us, the answer could be we don't have the budget for that, or it could be please form the new program and bring it to a future committee meeting. But I'd like to open it up for conversation, please.
Okay, let's do that. Alderman Wilson?
And thank you for bringing the idea forward. And I do know, even just from talking to businesses throughout the city, that there is this is part of an ongoing conversation. Whenever it gets pressed that there's a support for something that's a private enterprise, people will question that. Part of my personal, this is just my personal philosophy, is that I view funding private businesses as something that should be done when there's not a level playing field. So in other words, if there's some sort of competitive disadvantage, some sort of barrier to a workforce opportunity, whatever that might be, to fund situations to level that playing field. Also, the budget is the big piece here, so I don't feel comfortable putting that money out there. And we also just watched 2 great presentations of a lot of really awesome stuff and a lot of money that gets spent on supporting the businesses. So that's one of the things that I tend to go back to and say, okay, yeah, but you're kind of forgetting about this and the marketing efforts and the the personal contact. And you guys are out there face to face, sitting down with these business owners. So I hope that they can develop a deeper appreciation for that level of effort and attention that goes into supporting them. But as far as kind of the financial incentives, I'm not super comfortable on that.
Okay, Peter, Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my feedback, because there's Evanston Plaza, Main Street Plaza, and part of downtown, so I do, and also the industrial area, so I do get my share of those conversations as well. Why do people who are new to town get all the support versus the businesses? So I'm interested in keeping the conversation going. I think that the things that are important to me, and I don't see, and maybe I missed it, Paul, anything about job creation in here. So if we're investing, why are we investing? Are we investing just because they want a new look and hoping to bring people in? So I would like to see some type of job metric in place, and I'm a big fan of skin in the game. So I would probably say, we look at 25% of whatever the applicant is putting in up to a certain amount, and that can be determined by staff or anybody else who wants to weigh in. But those are my couple of things that I wanted to share.
Okay. All right, yes, I can.
I appreciate the comments of both Alderman Wilson and Alderman Braithwaite. I had a few comments. If you look to, when I looked at sort of the number of years that you were considering, I think 10 years is too high. If you're going to look at this and it's to be considered further, I would consider 5 years. By then, I think that business has skin in the game. It's been a part of the community. I'm not sure a legacy program is what I would call it. I do agree that having some sort of tool to be able to work with the retention of the existing business is important. To Alderman Braithwaite's question about job creation, sort of what are we investing in, I would respectfully say that we're investing in the vitality and placemaking that these businesses provide, the sense of place that we in Evanston value. And our neighbor to the south had their budget address today, and Mayor Lightfoot said, a budget should reflect your values. And that really resonated with me. And I think here in Evanston, we've heard residents say, we value our existing businesses. We value our independent businesses that line our business corridors. And to me, this is a tool that puts money behind those values. And so I support this with the tweak of, sort of the number of years. And, we can talk further about the how much per project and all that. But in concept, I think it's a positive one.
Alderman Rainey?
Yes. I agree with what most people have said, but I'm concerned about identifying the various kinds of businesses. Did I read that you're talking mostly about restaurants and retail?
Okay. So Alderman Rainey, that's a great question. I think for me, as from the staff perspective, that's the hardest part, like the budget and the funding, like that's going to kind of present itself. But the idea of determining how we're going to pick winners and losers, that's always my concern, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. I was looking for a little bit of input from the committee and ultimately the council because you will be voting on it and you're in the hot seat when that happens. So I want to spend a little more time developing that. And the reason I had mentioned in the staff report restaurants and retail is because those are the places that, addressing what Mrs. Eakin said about the vitality and what brings people to our business districts. But the challenge there, and we heard Alderman Braithwaite say it, he has businesses that have been in the West End, for literally 100 years, right, 110 years. Why aren't we helping them, right? So we have to define it in some stronger way.
Well, I was thinking of, I can't top that, but one of the longest serving businesses in my ward that brings people in by the hour from all over Cook County and beyond is a veterinarian who's been there way over 30 years, and her space looks very tired and worn. And I'm thinking a perfect candidate for this, who's never asked for anything and probably won't even accept this if we were to offer it. But I was thinking that user should not be excluded from an opportunity like this. And so that's why I was thinking of should we exclude anybody, any business?
I think anytime we invest money, there's an expected ROI. So for that business that you have in mind, the question would be, what is the ROI? So what's the return of our investment? So there should be some type of metric every time we invest. I mean, we don't just give out money to be nice, and that's not the point that you're making.
Yeah.
The larger question would be, what would be the stated case for that particular investment? And we're not picking, of course, on it would be in general for any business coming forward.
Right, and Madam Chair, if I may, really briefly, you're bringing up something else, Alderman Braithwaite. I think moving forward, a question that comes up almost in every meeting or every other meeting is, what's the ROI, or how are we measuring this? And we've never really delivered on that. And on my to-do list is a concept of some kind of cover sheet or an attachment that will list how any program or any request from private sector or even in our team, how that will impact a number of factors, whether it's jobs, taxes, so on and so forth. So we'll be able to compare over time how these various projects match up apples to apples. So I'm going to develop that as a separate kind of concept that I'll bring to committee early in the year of 2020.
Okay. Ms. Eakin?
Paul, have you, as you're considering how to develop the program, have you done any best practice considerations in looking at, other communities in looking at how they develop similar tools?
Right. Honestly, I haven't. When I review the toolbox from other communities, they're typically facade improvement program. Evanston has always been very fortunate to not just have TIF, but we've had this economic development fund sourced from our hotels, mostly in amusement, and so other communities don't have that resource. So I'm going to bet most don't have it. I'll check some of the larger cities that have bigger programs to see if they have programs specifically developed for retention of, let's call it 5-year businesses. Well, that would be part of the next step.
Paul, do you have enough from us? I think it's worth, I'd say the consensus is, with maybe a few exceptions, that we should continue this discussion. Do you have enough input from us?
I think the biggest thing I wanted to walk away with today was how do we select, and I'll work on that, and I'll look at best practices and the like. And the concept of, I was very narrowly focused on what are the things that bring vitality, and we're also trying to protect retail. Retail, again, is getting slammed, e-commerce, shopping malls, and the like, so we just need to continue our efforts to keep them growing in Evanston. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Well, chew on it and come back to us. I understand the 5-year aspect of it. I think if we're going to call it legacy, it should be longer than that. But I think we should figure out, 5 years seems like a long time, but I think if we're trying to reward people who've been here for a while, we might want to make it a longer period of time. But
yeah, maybe there's a tiered program that if you're here longer, to address what Alderman Braithwaite said.
Right.
There's some
Yeah,
less skin
because-
in the game for an older business. We'll figure something out.
Right.
But the fact that there's some support for continued research, I'll continue that work.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, thank you for that. So then our last item is the Economic Development Report, which we all have here to review. It's very helpful, it's very clear. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share? Alderman Rainey.
I would like to know where the real estate transfer tax report is and why it's not being attached to our economic development packet. Or
Usually it is here, yes. Mhm.
That unfortunately is an oversight. My apologies.
did you send it out to us?
Yes.
It is some of our favorite reading, you know.
I look forward to reading it on a regular basis as well.
Okay. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Oh, could I just say one thing?
Yes.
On the Sherwin-Williams that we approved this, recommended the 7A on.
Right.
They have applied for a demolition permit already.
Excellent. Okay,
Just
good
wanted
news.
to mention that.
All right.
Oh, it just talks by itself. I can't do it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there Alderman Braithwaite?
Two speakers that I think wanted to.
Oh, I apologize. I did not even go through public comment. Please come forward. Yes. Okay. All right. If you could just tell us your name and why you're here. Yes.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Naina Mishra and I'm from LEND. And we just wanted to give a quick introduction. We're a microfinance organization and we give loans up to $10,000 to small businesses around Evanston. And usually we target female and minority entrepreneurs. And we're excited for a new school year ahead of us. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be able to attend all of these meetings. And we look forward to catching up with you one-on-one, maybe at a different time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming. We know your program, and it's done very good things here in Evanston before. So this should be a good year. Thank you. Mhm. All right. Now we have a motion to adjourn. Has it been seconded?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, staff.